Good afternoon and welcome to the COMIT Virtual Happy Hour, in which we bring you a virtual pub-style environment for a friendly chat about hot topics over a beer. And today's session is brought to us by KOREC Trimble and XR Works. Connected construction, the current, the future, with developments shaping construction. I'm going to talk a little bit about COMIT before we get to the main session. COMIT is a collaboration platform made up of owners, contractors, solution providers, and of course academia. COMIT has a long history of developing and running demonstration projects and webinars like this one with its members to focus on increasing value, improving productivity, and producing better outcomes. Behind all technological initiatives in our industry is a simple goal, and that is improving productivity. But often the best improvements come from a combination of knowledge, process, and technology. The COMIT community has identified with the major barriers facing our industry and has developed a unique opportunity to create enablers with the potential for change that would lead to cross-industry improvement. By being collaborative with all of the stakeholders, we create improved ways of enablement through process improvement and ultimate demonstrations. The long-term aim is to reduce capital project costs by up to 30% and reduction in cycle times by up to 10%. I'm going to encourage everybody to feel free and send any questions during the session using the bar on the right-hand side. And when we get to the end, we'll read them out in order of appearance. So, on to today's session. Connected construction. The construction is beginning to embrace powerful solutions that improve collaboration, understanding, and intelligence, ultimately leading to projects that run smoothly, safely, and keep the client happy with progress, and also complete on time and to budget. Trimble's XR10, the mixed reality headset, brings you your BIM model to life on a site. So you identify clashes before they occur, communicate seamlessly with off-site colleagues or clients. We'll see some demonstrations in a few moments. Luke Bottomley, Trimble's XR lead, and KOREC's Reid, UK sales director, bring real customer success stories to life with examples of mixed reality in use on live projects. We'll also hear from James on some other examples, and we'll hear the benefits of incorporating mixed reality into the construction workflow and how surprisingly simple it is to incorporate. We'll also be taking a look at the next steps, including what the near future of construction will look like. Okay, so just to start things off and whet your appetite, we've got a few poll questions here. Now, I normally say at this point there's no curveballs, but there might well be. So just bear with me while I launch the first poll question. They're all multi-choice, so there's no scripting, there's no writing. Just click the button. So the first one we've got here is, what best describes your job function? You should be able to see that now. Are you a contractor, M&E, designer, BIM modeler, client, other? A few more still to vote. We've got a good number of contractors on, a couple of designers, no M&E specialists so far, a few clients, and a few others. A couple more seconds. Okay, I'm going to share that. So 29% contractors, no M&Es, 14% designer, 5% client, 52% other. Okay, thanks for that one. Poll question number 2. Should be able to see that now. Are you aware of Trimble's XR10 Microsoft HoloLens? Okay, 50-50 on the first one. Oh no, we got a few now gone into the not heard of either. Okay. Couple more seconds. Should be able to see that now. Any thoughts on that, guys? 38% yes, I know both. 48% have heard of HoloLens, but not the XR10. Bit of work to do there, perhaps. Bit more sharing.
Yeah, that's not so bad, I don't think, actually. Yeah, I'm not too displeased with that so far, but hopefully we can yeah, make some improvement on that. Absolutely.
Okay, thanks everybody for voting on that one. Okay, question number 3. Do you plan to invest in digital construction technology, laser scanning, mixed reality, mechanical total stations? You should be able to see that now. No? Okay, a couple of seconds more. Thank you for voting. I'm going to share that now. You should be able to see the results. Any thoughts on that, guys?
Yeah, that's great that people are already, going down this route and starting to adopt the technology. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Okay, thanks for voting on that one. Much appreciated. Okay, and the final question. I mentioned no curveballs, but I wasn't correct. So, for those that have seen this before, you will know the answer. We did show it about 8 months ago, but some people have not seen this. So, and I will give you a demonstration later, promise. So how many spots does it take to pull a 10-ton truck? Is it 2? Is it 4? Is it 6, 8, 10? I'm convinced some of you will know this. It seems even at the moment. Bit of a change, front-ended. Okay. Thanks for voting on that. I have a demonstration towards the end, so stick with us and I'll show you what I mean. Thanks very much for that, and thanks for voting on all of the polls. Okay. So, moving on to the session. Where are we? So, introducing the guys, Mark, Luke and James. Mark, as I mentioned earlier, is UK Sales Director with KOREC. We've got Luke, who's XR lead with Trimble. And we've got James, with he's an XR architect and urbanist with XL Works. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hand you over to Mark, or Luke's slides. Mark's going to present the first few and listen to the main session. So thanks, guys, and handing over to you. You should have control now.
Okay, so I think we're on. All right, excellent. Thanks. So, yeah, today we're going to talk about connected construction and how technology adoption can advance our productivity in the construction workflow. I was on the session on the panel a few weeks ago, and we were talking about various things, and one of the topics that came up was mixed reality and how it's, how it can be used in construction, but whether it's already being used in construction. So we felt that was a good topic to talk about today. So we're going to kind of focus on mixed reality and specifically the Trimble XR10 head. And I'll hand over to Luke shortly, who will run you through how the Trimble XR10 works and give you some of the use cases and how it can be actually deployed in a construction workflow. And as part of that, we'll also speak to James, who will talk to us about how XLWorks actually deploy the technology within their organization. But before I do that, I just want to give you a very quick update on KOREC. I don't know if many of you will know KOREC, so I just want to give 1 or 2 slides just to update you what KOREC do, and then we'll run into what the XR10 is all about. So we just move on to the next slide there, Luke. Yeah. Okay, so at KOREC, we are suppliers of measurement solutions. So we supply measurement solutions into the geospatial engineering and construction sectors, and we have an overriding mission really to make organizations more effective and more productive using survey and mapping technology. We are the Trimble authorized distributor for the UK and Ireland, supplying the survey mapping and building construction workflows. And we also do represent other leading survey manufacturers in the UK. If we start looking at how do we make an organization more effective using survey mapping technology, really you have to have an end-to-end field to finish solution. One bit of technology on its own doesn't achieve what you need to do. So generally we're looking at combinations of technologies. We're also looking at hardware and software. There's a lot of technology out there now for you to document your construction site very quickly, but actually that's of no use unless you actually have software and tools to extract the value out of that and make decisions on it. So when we talk about end-to-end field to finish measurement solutions, it is actually capturing information, processing that, and actually making decisions based on that information. And KOREC, what we find is the key kind of technology adoption is really to make it accessible. So we make the different solutions that we have accessible to the market in many different ways. But we also support our customers very closely to actually implement that technology. So for example, we have a dedicated professional services division there, which actually works with organizations to deploy the technology in their company, in their workflows and on their sites. And that's a real difference, because I think we talk about digital construction and different technologies a lot, but there's a big question of, well, are people actually really using them? Are they being adopted? And yes, they are, but actually, us as manufacturers and people in the technology field have to hold their hand and actually make that happen. And that is really happening, certainly around the UK now, and I know around the world as well. So you just go on to the next slide there, Luke. So at KOREC, and working with Trimble, we have a huge portfolio of survey and mapping technology that's applicable to construction, but you can almost summarize it in 2 key areas. So that the first area, what we call geospatial, is really about capturing the as-is conditions. So our geospatial portfolio typically comes into play right at the start of a construction project, where we're documenting existing facilities or infrastructure, or it comes at the end of a construction project and we're doing an as-built. And that could be anything from drones to field collection, more traditional survey instruments such as robotic total stations and GNSS. But there's an ever-increasing trend towards mass data capture, laser scanning, mobile mapping, and this general trend of it's becoming easier and faster to document a site these days with the technology that we have there. But if we just move on to the next slide, Luke, the other kind of side of our portfolio is what we call building construction, and that really where we work with Luke and the team at Trimble there on the building construction side much closer, and it's really where we're more focused on the actual construction phase itself, because here we're talking about survey and mapping and technology solutions that are really focused around bringing the design into the field, whether that is for accurately setting out where something should be built using robotics or GNSS, or whether it's laser scanning for construction validation. But it's also the area where mixed reality sits within this building construction portfolio, whether that is for collaborative site briefings, whether it's for looking at construction progress or validation. And really, because of that, it is kind of central to this idea of kind of connected construction, because what makes connected construction or digital construction work is that model, that BIM model, or that centralized model that should be that single source of truth. And the technology we're talking about here, inclusive of the mixed reality solutions, is about bringing that source of truth into the field and actually getting all the stakeholders using that, validating against that, and updating that as quickly as possible. So it is very much key to an optimized connected construction workflow. So just next slide there, Luke. So really, when we're talking about what connected construction is, it really is digital construction. It is about kind of embracing technologies. It's about having that single source of truth. It's about removing data silos, increasing collaboration with different stakeholders, reducing the lag time between kind of what's happening on site and what we are designing on in the office. And really, using the survey and measurement tools, it's about capturing accurate information on which you can make informed decisions. And I think they're the key elements of kind of connected construction, and they're the key things that are going to drive productivity. And it's very much the route we're going down in this industry, and you can see the advance in recent years and the amount of investment in this space that technology is transforming how we do construct infrastructure. So let's say mixed reality is a big part of that. So I think that's probably enough from me. So what I want to do now is hand over to Luke, and he'll actually tell you go in a bit more detail about what the XR10 is, how it works, and we'll start to look at some of the different applications that it's being used for. Over to you, Luke.
Perfect, thanks, Mark. I think that was a great introduction, and if I'm being honest, I think you probably took a few of the words out of my mouth, really, in terms of your description of how mixed reality plays into connected construction, the overall strategy. I mean, to be honest, I can't think of a better example, really, than the mixed reality portfolio of Trimble achieving its mission, really. So you're probably not familiar, but Trimble's mission statement is transforming the way the world works by connecting the physical and digital worlds. With mixed reality, we're not just connecting the physical and the digital, we're actually beginning to sort of seamlessly merge them together, and we're putting data literally at your fingertips and overlaid onto your surroundings. So what are we talking about? What do we mean by Trimble mixed reality? So in my opinion, this is the ultimate tool for bringing your design to the field. This allows you to visualize that data at one-to-one scale, in context, and importantly in safety. So this is completely hands-free and without obstructing your view of the site. With Trimble Connect for HoloLens, we're able to extend the collaboration features of Trimble Connect, and we're actually beginning to seamlessly merge digital data with physical surroundings. So as the name suggests, the visualization is holographic in nature, therefore it's actually translucent. So you're able to see through it, essentially. And you get the impression that these models are being projected onto all the surfaces around you, or perhaps even into thin air if those surfaces haven't been built yet. Because this piece of hardware is essentially a Windows 10 computer in its own right, the camera feed, you can probably make out the camera that's mounted just in the center of where your forehead would be. That is able to capture images and video for sharing later, or even better, you can stream that feed live via a video call. So when we talk about Trimble mixed reality, we are of course referring to the Microsoft HoloLens 2, and pleased to see from the poll that I think most people on the call at least are aware of that device. But really we're talking about the Trimble version, which is the XR10. So just to sum that up very quickly, we purchase components directly from Microsoft. We've got the only OEM agreement with Microsoft HoloLens 2, and combine them with Trimble components to deliver the only certified safe way to use a HoloLens 2 on a construction site or in any environment where PPE is a requirement. So aside from the standard HL2 components, which essentially you see are actually suspended at the front and the back of the device, and of course the hard hat itself, we've developed a custom audio system in order to make this viable for noisy environments. So bone conduction is the technology we're using. The chances are you won't have experienced this yet because it's relatively new technology. There's a few devices on the market that use this, but essentially what we're talking about is transmitting the sound through the skull. So you can see in the center image on the slide the pads that sit just behind the ears. So we're not using any traditional type of earbuds or that kind of thing. So beauty of this, of course, is that it means that you can use the ear protection that's required for the environment, but you're still able to hear crystal clear sound even when there's very high ambient noise. So clearly an important addition. In terms of the interface, so clearly this is a unique interface. There's no keyboard, there's no mouse, there's no screen, but the controls are very intuitive as this device tracks your hand movements and gestures. Menus simply float in front of you basically. You just need to reach out and tap on what you want, or you can use your finger a bit like a laser pointer and you can make selections at a distance. In terms of the use cases for this technology, I mean, they're already quite many and varied, but they're growing very quickly as well. Focusing on the construction space, of course, we're mainly seeing customers use this for QA, QC and clash detection, install verification, remote inspections and commissioning, or in off-site manufacturing facilities to ensure coordination of prefab modules. Any of you who might have tried out the first generation HoloLens, you'd appreciate the huge improvements that were made with the second gen version. So the field of view has doubled basically, and the device is much more comfortable to wear as the weight has now been distributed between the front and the back of the device evenly. And we, as part of the XR10, have introduced this flip-up hinge. So essentially you can continue to work on site without ever having to remove or switch hard hats, which is important from a safety perspective. So I think it's fair to say that in terms of success with this solution, it surpassed even our wildest expectations, really. Certainly had an incredibly successful year last year with it. It's fair to say that the pandemic has been challenging, as we've had very little opportunity to go out and demonstrate this in the traditional sense. However, the travel restrictions have arguably really accelerated the demand as well. And the remote capabilities of the device have lent themselves to remote presentation. So you could argue that the remote viewing experience in many cases has actually been more relevant perhaps than the first person experience would be, particularly in the kind of current circumstances we find ourselves in. But we saw through the first half of last year a lot of proof of concept trials taking place with organisations typically ordering 1 or 2 units for testing purposes. But as we near the end of 2020 and the end of 2021, we've seen a clear shift towards deployment and implementation on more and more real projects. So it's easy technology to access based on the low investment and its usability, and the productivity gains are quite clear, I think. Certainly if you look at just basics around being able to reduce travel time and costs, not having to get in the car, on the train, on a plane. So of course, there's some great environmental benefits to implementing this kind of technology as well, which is always great. So we've got 1 or 2 examples. So this is one of our customers who've been making good use of mixed reality. He's one of the first companies we got on board actually with the HoloLens software. So we've got an excerpt here from, this is a Welland Garden City based customer called Ambar Kelly. So this is something they post on their website, a story about their success using Tekla in combination with Trimble Connect for HoloLens. So as well as giving better visibility of any changes, the AR technology is enabling collaboration, something that has been repeatedly called for in construction. All approved drawings are uploaded into the helmet. You can then collaborate with other users using the same equipment to align, navigate and measure the model in a real-time, true-to-life space. We can also manipulate the model whilst on site, which is an added bonus. when it comes to on-site installation. Everything is there, everything is cut and manufactured to the detailing in the model. The efficiency of the modelling is second to none, is keeping project teams better connected. So I think that part of the story really focuses on the collaborative aspects of the technology and the benefit of being able to bring your design to the field. They also post this neat little video from when they started with this. So you can see here using the collaboration feature for design review at a small scale in the factory office. Next stage, of course, is to then check that model at true scale against the module prior to being shipped out to site. So you can appreciate how easy it might be to make a mistake on the orientation or placement of one of these plates. Everything you see in yellow is to be removed when the M&E services are installed and are based on the coordinated model. So using Trimble Connect for HoloLens, they're able to eliminate risk from this process, and of course the associated costs might come from reworking on site. Okay, so I'm now going to move on to Excel Works, and James has very kindly agreed to join us and talk a little bit about his experience implementing this technology on a couple of, well, probably more than a couple of projects now. So I'll let you talk for the next couple of minutes, James, if you're happy to do that.
Sure, yeah. Cheers. Thanks, Luke. And thanks, Mark. And thanks, Stuart, for the invite. Yeah, so Excel Works are a sort of roots in architecture, and I've been lucky enough to deliver a lot of buildings in the last 20 years. And when we launched the business a couple of years ago, it was the intent to make the business, robust enough to continue for the next 20 years or so. So we looked a lot at technology, and the HoloLens and the team up with Trimble kind of blew us away, really, because we saw this as almost mixed reality as the missing link. We've been talking about BIM for a long time. I think implication throughout the whole design team can be patchy, so uptake is still, I would say, fairly slow. But what we're finding now, looking at the HoloLens and the Trimble XR10, as has been said in the previous presentations, breaking that barrier between the BIM model and taking it direct to site and people working on site, because this is all about, reaching right down to subcontractors with this information in 3 dimensions. So that's what really excited us. And we had the opportunity to roll out a research program after we got our hands on the XR10 last year. So we're one of the first businesses to invest in them. I've been bothering Luke with various queries for a long time. And so we were working on a project called Digitech Factory at the time, education building. And we proposed a program called Construct XR, which now has 2 projects on board. So that's working with the whole design team at Digitech Factory, and with the architects, structural engineers, M&E, and also the RG Carter, the contractor on site. And we've also got another project which we're allowing the structural engineers, or they have employed us to make use of the XR10 at Norwich Castle, which is a grade 1 listed Castle Keep refurbishment project. It's very high profile. So those 2 are ongoing at the moment, and you can see I do videos and blogs about it as well. So if you want to look at it a bit more, have a look on the website. But what we're finding, the idea behind that was to allow people to test the technology on real projects. The Digitech Factory project runs alongside the main contract, and we allow different parts of the design team to experiment with that at different stages. We do a bit of training as well, and the feedback we're getting is very positive. Obviously, people come at it with more skepticism. Site manager, for example, was very skeptical at the beginning, but what we find is that the entire team on site were blown away by the possibilities offered by this. And talking to other contractors as well, we're already seeing feedback saying, if only we'd have had this last month for an issue we had on site, and being able to look at details and intersections at 1-to-1 and a problem-solving process is very powerful. And at the end of the day, it's about collaboration and conveying ideas. Mistakes and waste happen when you know, that chain of explanation between the design and delivery on site breaks down. So this piece of equipment and the mixed reality sector or area space is going to be so important going forwards, and we're getting so much positive feedback. And I think even during lockdown we were getting a good bit of interest, but we're seeing that really ramp up now as time goes on. And then the Castle project, that started out as a trial with Conisbee structural engineers, but actually it then got incorporated into their workflow. So they're putting a very complex steel structure into a listed building, and they actually used there's a facility called To Do, which allows you to pinpoint areas on the model on site at 1-to-1, and those get uploaded to the cloud. So that actually has become part of their workflow on that project, which was an amazing piece of feedback. So yeah, we've been looking at various aspects, and there are videos on it elsewhere, but I think, Luke, you've got a short video for something. This is the latest piece of work we did at Digitech Factory. So there's a facility on the HoloLens called Remote Assist, which some people may or may not have seen. As Luke explained before, there's a high definition camera on the front. So this is essentially a Teams call being fed into the headset. So I'm speaking to Adam Simpson of Clear Consulting and Design on this video here. Trying to grab the screen there, a bit of jitter. But so what we're seeing is the ability to mark up in 3 dimensions and have a discussion about various drawings that were uploaded. So this drawing here is a CAD drawing that's been shared by the M&E consultant. We're also enabled us to add arrows and mark up. So these arrows are actually fixed in 3-dimensional space, holographic space. This is the structural engineers, Clancy Consulting. That's their BIM model. And the ability just to review and snag on site as well. Again, you could do freehand markups on this facility as well. So this is a live interactive design review essentially between office-based consultants or subcontractors and the site. So the feedback on this again was really, really positive. So this is a very, very strong tool in terms of collaboration and time saving, which has been highlighted before about that travel time to site. Your hands free, you can record the session as well. So, and the ability to overlay stuff in 3 dimensions is really excellent. So that got really good feedback. Yeah. So yeah, there's more videos if you want to have a look on the Construct XR website. And yeah, that's probably about it from me, I would say. Probably best to get on with some questions and, you know, far away from my point of view. Thanks a lot.
Awesome, thanks, James. That was really, really excellent. That was really insightful, and I suspect, yeah, there may be quite a few questions that are fired in your direction based on that. So appreciate that. Cool. So I've literally just got a couple more slides in terms of looking ahead. So what's the next step? Let's talk about construction robotics, or perhaps I'll let Brian and the guys talk about construction robotics.
My name is Brian Ringley. I'm a construction technology manager at Boston Dynamics. I actually started out with Spot originally as a customer. Once I saw the kind of agile leg mobility of Spot, I knew that that was the future of construction robotic applications.
In the last 5 years, Mortensen has been the #1 builder of solar in the nation. We have put in multiple gigawatts worth of work. We are out in the middle of nowhere, so you know, transportation's a challenge. Just the challenges of getting qualified people to come and build these things. We're going to have a definite challenge to meet the sheer volume of work that's coming.
We need to be able to have the ability to turn Spot into a fully autonomous robot. We've been able to put Spot through mud, through dirt, through the short grass, through gravel.
The finesse that Spot has to be able to maneuver and dodge and see what's going on are quite frankly unique.
We're seeing a particular amount of value in environments that are somewhat predictable and repetitive and modular. We want to use the Trimble technology to allow Spot to go deeper into exterior construction environments and civil applications.
One of the things we've been able to do is control Spot from a remote environment. Right now we're down here in Texas. We've been able to view the navigation from the Spot cam and be able to track that from Minneapolis. It is a need for us in terms of being able to deploy multiple spots on a job site.
Having tools and technology like Spot are going to make our jobs honestly easier.
Okay, so just to sum up our vision for construction robotics. So we really see the near future as being fully autonomous cobots working side by side with humans. So we use this term cobots because, to say, the idea is that they're working alongside us rather than replacing us, but performing dirty, dull, dangerous tasks in turn to improve safety, quality, and speed of construction. So we believe that robots will play an increasingly significant role in the construction industry, whether we're talking about prefab or on-site scenarios. And in a similar way to BIM adoption, I think you start looking at other industries and you can see that this trend is already in a more advanced state. So it's natural that we will follow, catch up in that sense. So that's about it from me for now. So if I hand back over to you, Stuart, I think it's time for some questions.
Brilliant, thanks guys. That's absolutely fantastic. A great collaborative effort there, I'd have to say. Some real nuggets as well. I was quite impressed with how you can apply and use this technology, and it's really simple, isn't it? It's really simply applied. Just bear with me a minute. I'm just trying to show my screen. I can't seem to do it just now. Okay, let's try again. Right, there we go. There we go. Right, technology challenge. Okay, so we have got some questions come in. Thanks to everybody that sent those in so far. The first one I've got here is, now then, where is it? Where's it gone? Okay, so just bear with me a second. Let me get this up on the screen. So, Francis, thanks for sending this one in. What role does XR have in design? Who wants to take that one?
I could
James?
first have a go at that. Yeah, I mean, so obviously the program we've been looking at has been mainly in a construction phase at the moment, but what we're finding is that this device, or the mixed reality device, the HoloLens, can be applied right the way through the process. I think the ability to examine and carry out walkthroughs at one-to-one scale as well, using one device as opposed to having to go in and out of VR. I think VR's got a place for sure in terms of client engagement, but in terms of collaborative meetings, people can dial in for remote access to look at a single model. You can cut sections, you can make annotations, and I think in terms of you see it as a tool that can just enable collaboration. So I think that's being able to work in 3 dimensions and review 3D models and specific elements of the models in design sessions prior to site is yeah, that's a win-win really. We're looking to do work with actually using Trimble Connect in terms of looking at doing pre-planning work and locating sort of basic massing models within urban environments to allow greater assessment of planning, so that you get an instant kind of visual impact assessment. So that's our next piece of work that we're doing.
Yeah, good. Well, thanks for that, Jay.
I think
Mark?
just to add to that, I think you know, it is to an extent a two-way solution. So it's not just taking your design and visualizing it on site. You know, as you saw in the video there, you can mark things up, you can create to-do lists. So I think, yeah, you're not going to do your initial design as such, but it's about that rework. It's about those updates. It's about actually finding out as quickly as possible on site what needs to change, because, you know, if there's a clash, you want to know about it and you want to update your design before the next trade comes behind you, and then, you know, their design is all wrong. So actually, the key aspect of any digital construction is reducing that rework, and that is about getting that site information as quickly as possible, and feeding that back into design, and then doing that redesign where it is needed. So I think it's very much in that construction phase of, you know, ongoing review and update, I would say.
Yeah,
sorry,
go on.
I was just going to say, we myself and one of our team had a really interesting conversation with a customer in the Nordics region, quite a large-scale consultancy over there, and they were talking, I think, about the sort of phase you were describing there, Mark. But, you know, we were asking some questions about, you know, how can we quantify, you know, the benefit of this? What kind of savings are we talking about in pounds or euros or krona or what have you, to be able to identify these issues at early stages? And they said, well, I can't give you a value because we're identifying them and rectifying them so early that no one has any, you know, there's no impetus to go and explore what that might have cost because it's no longer an issue. So I think that's kind of what Mark was just describing.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, you know, when we price construction projects, there's so much redundancy that's put in there for in this rework, you know. So having this regular feed back and catching these things early on should effectively reduce construction costs overall, because we don't have to account for this. We can catch this much earlier. And I have seen studies where, you know, it's hundreds of millions pounds is spent on reworks, you know. So it has a vast impact being able to find these things very early in the cycle.
Yeah, I think you're right, Mark. I mean, the business with doing it expeditiously, I think, is great, because, as you say, the further on you go in a schedule, the more it's going to cost for the rework. So if you can do it, you know, by sharing that information visually, you can get a response, and it's dealt with before the next trade's arrived, so to speak. You know, I think that's fantastic. So I've got some more questions here. There's a couple of here I'm going to group together. Does it work outdoors? Is it waterproof? Is it drop proof? If so, from what height? Does that make sense?
I think I get where we're going with those questions. So first of all, I wouldn't recommend using it underwater. It's definitely not waterproof, but yeah, you can use it outdoors. It's better used indoors. The main limitation with using it outdoors is that being holographic visualization, if you've got sort of bright direct sunlight, it can begin to wash out that a little bit for the wearer. Anyone connected remotely or viewing later, it doesn't have effect, but for the wearer, it can be detrimental. So not a massive problem in the UK, but obviously we've got plenty of regions where that is more relevant. In terms of dropping it, I mean, my advice would be I would treat it the same way you would a laptop or a PC. So, and certainly when working at height, of course, you need to make, you need to be cautious anyway. But yeah, I mean, it's designed to protect the wearer, so the hard hat meets all of the impact protection requirements for use in virtually any region, basically. But yeah, it's designed to save whoever's wearing it. In that circumstance, the device may not well come off so great.
So, but any other? Sorry, go on. Yeah.
Can I just chip in? It's a good point by Luke about using it outdoors. However, you can address it by we've made our own sort of sunglasses for it, essentially, and as long as you put some film, there's also bespoke films you can put over the front just to take down the glare outside, so that that solves it basically.
Yeah, there are some relatively low tech solutions, and we are thinking about that as well. But, yeah,
yeah, mine are definitely low tech. I cut down some ski goggles.
I think it's
Okay.
worth maybe just adding on that point is that, like say, with the XR10, you know, primarily focus on within that construction site, but within that portfolio there is the Trimble Site Vision as well, which is an augmented reality solution which is actually designed specifically for outdoors, which again will do something very similar, but it's using GPS for positioning, which obviously isn't going to work inside, but we can use that outside to make sure we stay on track. So as well as kind of trying to use the XR10 in different ways, there are other solutions designed specifically for the wider site environment as well.
Okay, a couple more. I've got a statement here. This is from Henry. Henry's had to leave, but he definitely wants to catch up. The session is being recorded and will be sent out. And the next one I've got is from Colin Everson. Thanks, Colin. Can you mention the audio technology? Colin states that Jordan from Obelisk was telling him all about it, but others may wish to hear all about it too. Guys, do you want to talk about the audio?
Shall I take that, or you, James? I'll talk a little bit about that. So I think I did mention as part of the presentation, but yeah, so clearly, I mean, the standard audio system would not be ideal in these very sort of noisy industrial or construction environments that we intend the device to be used. So as I say, I mean, there's a few audio headsets on the market that use bone conduction that you can buy. There are some VR headsets, so anyone who's used an Oculus Rift S, or I think there's a few others that uses bone conduction as well. It's if you've not experienced it, the first few seconds feels a bit strange because it's almost a bit like your internal voice is producing the audio rather than the way you would normally experience it. But yeah, basically it just it avoids that ambient sound. It means that we can wear ear defenders, we can wear earplugs, whatever we want. Arguably, the sound kind of transmits better in some ways when you're doing that because you're isolating it as well. So yeah, so we've developed this Bluetooth headset with Mobilus. So it's very small. It's at that size. Sits just behind your neck as part of the suspension for the hard hat. And so there's just two very small pads that come out and sit behind the ears that transmit the sound. Don't know if there's anything you wanted to add to that, James, in terms of the experience using it, or does that kind of cover it?
It's very good. Yeah, I was very impressed by it. You've got to make sure you fit it right. Just make sure it's high enough up the back, and then yeah, it's especially for we obviously used it for the remote assist test. That was very important. And we had a lot of background noise going on because the site was in progress, and yeah, that worked really well. So yeah.
Okay, thanks, guys. Next question I've got here is about training. How much is needed to get moving, to get started?
Well, to get started, I mean, we've got a YouTube channel. It's an open channel. Anyone can go on there and look at the training videos. So I'd argue it's very easy to get started. Ideally, I think when it comes to implementing it on site, it's probably worth getting some help in. But I have to say, by and large, people like James, the guys at Ambar Kelly, they sort of did a lot of the initial work themselves. So say that the interface is intuitive, that the software is quite intuitive. I think the assistance is probably more about implementation into the project and what the design outcomes are. That's probably where a contractor or whatever stakeholder might want some additional assistance. But yeah, it'd be interesting to get James's perspective on this. But I think in terms of usability, it's almost sort of plug and play, really.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, even people who are self-acknowledged not technology savvy have found the interface very simple. I mean, because it works off intuitive pressing of buttons and selecting menus. So you're used to doing that on the PC. It just kind of happens in front of your face in a hologram, which, you know, I think we find it takes about probably 10 minutes just to get used to the fact that you can touch holograms. So that, but once you get used to it, I think our first trial at Digitech with the main contractor Carter's, you know, it took about 10-15 minutes, and the site manager was using Trimble Connect for HoloLens, and the interface, he was outside, you know, scaling up the model, positioning it, turning it around, cutting sections. So it's not complex, and I think that's that's the real beauty of it, because it kind of democratizes this 3D data, which is the great thing about it. Yeah.
I mean, it helps that, of course, you're basically on a familiar platform in the sense that it's Windows 10 based, but it's probably worth pointing out as well, I would agree, somewhere around the 20-minute mark is probably about the time it takes to sort of begin to feel familiar with it. But the part of that is also the device getting better at tracking your hands and your gestures, and that's one of the things, of course, you don't have to worry about with other devices. But yeah, so I just think it's kind of worth talking about the fact that the device recognizes the user, so it can do that via iris recognition, and it learns the user very, very quickly. But yeah, so there's just that, as you say, that brief period where you're kind of calibrating the system to work.
Yeah, there's definitely a sort of technique to interacting with it as well. You just got to be slightly more deliberate in what you're doing, and just remember that the headset's tracking your hand movements. So it's, yeah, you get used to it very quickly.
You've still got you've got spatial awareness when you're wearing the thing. It's not. I go back to when VR first came on the scene, and people were getting sort of queasy and falling over and everything else. We're talking something very different here, aren't we?
Absolutely, yeah. We don't get any of that. They've not had any of that. So you've got peripheral vision as well. I mean, it's good that it isn't actually the field of view. It's probably perfect, really, to be fair, because you still need your peripheral vision clear when you're on site, and that it maintains it.
I think that was one of the impediments when things first came on the market, was this business about distraction. I can remember back to the issues with mobile phones being allowed to be or permitted for use on site, and they weren't simply. You know, I went through a whole rigmarole of trying to, you know, prove safety, and some projects still now don't allow them to be used. You've got to go to a safe area to operate your phone or your iPad or whatever it is you're using. And yeah, I mean, it's good to see it's made that progress, and rightly so. So the other question I've got here is, do I need to purchase additional software or hardware to make this work? And you mentioned about Windows 10 there, but what other software packages does it work with?
Yeah, it's kind of a big question, really. So, as I say, because it's essentially a PC in its own right, of course, you can install there's quite a wide and varied market for apps, and of course you can use apps in conjunction with each other as well. So Trimble Connect for HoloLens and Remote Assist would be an obvious combination. So it really depends on the application and what you need to do with it. But I mean, clearly appeal with this device goes far beyond construction. So we have plenty of customers who will just buy a standalone piece of hardware from us. It comes with the operating system pre-installed. And then they go ahead and they load whatever third-party apps they want on. But typically within the construction space, we deliver you know, a complete solution with the hardware, the Trimble software. But absolutely, yeah, there's a ton of different apps out there catering for all needs that end users might want to install as well.
But I think it's worth just probably talking a little bit more about Trimble Connect, Luke, because I think, you know, we talk about the device is very simple to use on site, but actually, you know, you have to have the model there to do that, and quite often the hardest part can be getting that model and getting it down and using it on site. And you know, obviously, getting the model is a problem we can't solve, but once we have that model, whether it's an IFC file or an AutoCAD file, basically that gets uploaded into Trimble Connect in the cloud, which then comes down into, we pull down into the device. So that's how you actually get the model and view that. But so if we are using that kind of Trimble workflow, then Trimble Connect is that key software element that makes it happen.
Sure. Okay, thanks. Colin Everton's asked another question. Thanks, Colin. Colin says, I struggle to get traction with adopting HoloLens. With the XR10, is this improved? And are there any tips? Luke?
Traction with within the organisation, I guess, is the question. I mean, I think James, you kind of mentioned that a little bit yourself. At the end of the day, you know, we're at the second generation. As I say, we've seen trials, successful trials, proof of concepts already completed. So yeah, you know, the adoption is still not as fast and as wide as I would like, of course, but absolutely, yeah, I think things are definitely, and as I say, I think certainly the pandemic has helped, to be honest, because we've simply had to find ways to get over, you know, sending engineers and directors, etc., out to sites to see what's going on. So any tips? I don't know, maybe that's one
I think there's a couple of things that we've seen. You know, we're obviously demonstrating this and showing customers this, and I think the first one relates back to what I just said there, is actually having a model. Because, you know, if you just go to site and you put on an XR10, yeah, you can see something, but unless you've actually got a model to refer it to, you know, you don't get that immediate wow factor. So actually making sure you've got the model of the site you're going to look at, and then get people to try it, you know, it's a big light bulb moment when they see that and they can see their model overlaid on what they're viewing. So having that model prepared so it can be demonstrated properly is important. And then I think the other one is, and again, as you're saying there, the remote side. So that ability to do a remote dial into a site and visualize that, you know, again, is a great way to get multiple stakeholders to view it. So for example, you know, we should have probably done it on this session. Maybe we can do it in a future session. It'd be good to get one of the members or one of our customers actually on site, you know, with their XR10 and dial into this session and actually be able to show live them walking around their site and actually, you know, seeing what's happening there. And I think that when you see that, when you see how different stakeholders can access that information very, very quickly, you immediately see the value in what we're doing. We're actually we're doing something similar on the connected automated plant side with the highways in the UK, and there's going to be a session where we're going to have multiple sites all dialing in, you know, to this session, so you can have major tier 1 engineering companies and construction sites all down and showing their different sites and how they're using the technology. So, you know, I think as Luke said earlier, we've definitely moved from that kind of early adopter stage to actually, you know, day-to-day implementation of the technology.
With that, Mark, we need to certainly do a session on that, because that's a huge contributor to certainly linear works. I mean, I think of 100 different things that could improve, but we'll talk about that again. But just coming back to another statement or question that Colin's raised, he loves it, and others that try it do as well. But the challenge is getting other people to say, yes, I want one, and we'll use it. I think there will be a tipping point soon, hopefully. We should pick up the conversation and maybe do this again. Maybe there's another session or part 2 to this that we do in the not too distant, with some additional bits like you discussed. Colin goes on. He says, sorry, go on. Do you want to say?
I was just going to say. Sorry.
Go on, Luke.
I was just going to say, I think if you know, to sum up what Mark was saying, and you know, if there's one tip for Colin for, you know, adoption on this, is making it relevant. So, you know, showing people videos of demos that people have done, you know, not on site or on sites that just don't relate to what you're doing day to day. It just doesn't connect with people. So that's the trick, making it relevant, using your project data, your site, and addressing your problems. And guess what? You know, people are gonna take notice, and they're gonna go for it.
Can I just stop you there just 1 second? Those that came in for the hour's up. So what I just want to do, if you don't mind, is just say a series of thank yous. Firstly to the sponsor. Oh, I'm going to come back to that in a minute. Our sponsors O2 and Rebim. I'm going to say the next session is on the 21st of May. I want to thank Jerry and Ian for supporting the setting up and the running. I have got more questions here, and I'm going to carry on with those in a second. But the other question I get asked as well, and I've got to share this. Yes, this this is recorded. It will be made available in the next day or two. So look out for it. You should get notification anyway automatically. But yes, it will be there. Anybody got any thoughts and ideas on further sessions? We've got loads of things that have come in, some of which we've already done, but we will be doing some more. Any ideas for webinars? Yes, please pump them my way. What I will say is, just coming to Colin's next question, they did a trial with a user down on the Tideway project for tunnel boring, and connected with others on the teams for us on the surface and remotely. And they just need to see some more of them out in the field working on jobs. I think that's more of a statement. And I think you guys are well aware of that. I mean, listening and talking to you in the last week or two, I think there's opportunities present quite often, but I think it's a case of education and familiarization. One of the problems I found, certainly with this technology, is people aren't really familiar from starting off. And I know that's different now. This technology's moved on leaps and bounds, and I'm going back maybe 5 or 6, 7 years where the 3D GPS use on plant was a bit of a hard pill to swallow, because you're going from one extreme to another in a short space of time, and it's very difficult for the project manager to get a grip of that. First question he asks you is, how much is that going to cost? And when you actually lay it down for him, he gets it straight away. But what he doesn't get is all the spin-off benefits, and it's only over time that they begin to understand it. So yeah, great. I've got a really good question here, and this is to do with connectivity. We know COMIT's got a project in the background which is 5G, and there's a huge need for reliability and robustness and bandwidth when it comes to connectivity for certainly new technologies. But when you look at robotics and AI, you do need this, and we've got this 5G project running in the background with several of the COMIT members. Ask me offline if you want to find out more about that. But what about adding connectivity? Is that something that this demands right from the start? Is it, what is it? How does that operate? Who wants to take that question? Luke?
I mean, I might jump in first, and I suspect James might have some experience he'd like to add as well. But I mean, the beauty of this device is you've got flexibility. So it's actually 5G ready. I'm desperate to test it, but I haven't found a way to do that yet. But it's ready for when we have that infrastructure in place. Of course, you can connect to Wi-Fi, but you know, with many of the scenarios that our customers are working, getting a reliable connection is an issue. There's a fair amount you can do via 4G and even 3G if we're talking about Trimble Connect. Other apps require more bandwidth. But I have got customers who are actually using it with no connection at all. So you can download data to the device, you can go out onto site, you can perform tasks. Of course, you can capture video, and you can sync and share that at a later date. So you've got options, it would be my summary. I don't know if you want to add to that at all, James.
Yeah. I mean, being able to work offline has been a real bonus, actually. I think that feature got introduced some point last year, didn't it? Because I think at the beginning of the year we were, I mean, that site Wi-Fi is notoriously not good, and I think that's probably something that's got to be upped. The game has got to be upped with site connectivity for sure. But we've worked off 4G off my phone, my mobile phone signal at both sites. We actually got 5G at the Castle project, so that worked really well off the mobile phone. We also have a booster Wi-Fi signal as well. So, you know, I think getting these high quality internet connections, it has to be the future. But at the moment, you can work perfectly well with 4G. Yeah.
Okay. Mark, you got anything to add to that?
No, I don't think so. I think the only thing I would say, probably not on the connectivity piece, but just on the kind of the adoption piece that we were saying earlier, is just the, you know, it's about trying to get it defined that this kind of technology should be used very early in the project, you know, because if it's said right at the start that you're going to use this kind of technology and it should be done regularly and it's programmed in within the schedule, then it's much more likely to happen than if it's some technology that comes along and it's suggested it might be used on the project. So I think that's the same with all new technology, but the more we can actually get it in right at the start as this is the way we want to do it, the more likely that these kind of things are going to be used.
Sure. Okay. On the 5G project trial, Luke, we'll take that offline because I've got some potentials that might want to entertain that.
Yeah,
so we'll talk about that after. So, I mean, as I mentioned, we've got this project in the background, which is one of the participants is O2, and of course they're pretty big on 5G at the minute. So there's a keenness to do stuff. So I'll check that one out, and we'll talk again. So I think we've probably, I don't think there's any more questions. Let me just check. Yeah, I mean, what's coming in the next 12 months? Has anybody got any thoughts and ideas on where we're going? What else is what's gonna crop up, and how is it gonna change the way projects operate? Is there something else in project controls that we're going to see, or is it going to be a bit beyond 12 months? Anybody? Mark, have you got any thoughts on what we're going to see next?
Yeah, I can do. It's my spot the dog's barking away in the background there, so I'm.
Oh yeah, I haven't shown my spot the dogs. Don't let me go without showing you that, because people will be chomping at the bit wanting to know how many dogs, how many spots.
Definitely. I mean, it's hard to say what's coming back. I think, like you say, the technology is moving so quickly at the moment. I've never known it move this quick in terms of kind of this space, in terms of both mixed reality and the kind of the general survey mapping side. So, you know, it is moving quickly. I think, you know, on the site documentation side, we've already seen the progress in the capture. And what we're really seeing now is the whole kind of machine learning, the automated ways which we can extract that information out of it. That's a huge thing that we're seeing at the moment, whether it's information from cameras, photogrammetry, laser scanning, whatever. The actual fact that we can automatically pull that out. And I think, you know, if you look at any major industry, whether it's Amazon, Facebook, or, you know, what we're involved in, actually, what do they trade in now? They trade in data, you know, and it's the data and what we do with it that is the next big thing. And then linking that to the robotics and the autonomous side of actually doing the capture, and we've got the autonomous side of actually doing the value. And I think, like you said earlier, what it does, it changes our position in that and what we do, and it means we can work on the special stuff and the hard stuff and the decision making, rather than the repetitive, laborious stuff. But in terms of like specific developments on the mixed reality, I don't know, Luke, if there's anything you can say on that.
I think I don't want to talk about specifics at this stage, and I think, you know, sort of talking about the next 12 months might be a little bit optimistic, but I completely agree with you, Mark. So the next evolutionary phase, really, for what we're doing in mixed reality is AI, you know, to introduce AI. So, you know, at the moment, you know, we've got a fantastic tool for taking the design to the field and doing visual verification, clash detection, etc. But you know, the next step is for the device to be gathering the data and analysing it and telling the user where they should be looking and capturing the site conditions without having to go through that sort of manual process. So I think that's the next step. But as you say, I think it's probably looking a little bit further into the future, perhaps the next 12 months. We'll see.
James, yeah, on to you.
Yeah, I think you'll see Microsoft probably pushing their remote assist technology to enable more asset management side of things. I think that's something that probably would happen quite soon this year. I think within the next 12 months, I think possibly, I mean, another thing that's happening with Microsoft is they've launched something called Mesh. I think as connectivity increases and 5G gets rolled out, you're going to be able to render really high definition models into the headset. So that could really, it will increase the amount of detail that you can, experience on these sessions. So, but that is connected to 5G. So you'll need that to stream really high definition photorealistic visuals, because at the moment it's quite functional, and that's fine because that's all you need for clash detection and RAID clarity. But I think the next thing is going to be this direct streaming into the headset via the cloud.
Yeah, I mean, I touched on it earlier there, the connectivity and the 5G. We're building a use case, and we need to, whilst it's substantiated, it needs more. And I think if we can add some, further substantiation to it and demonstrate that it's required, then I think we'll be well on our way. So I'll chat with you guys individually offline about this, because I think you've got some real value that can contribute to this project. So we're at that point. Jerry, I'll give you a bit of airtime in a minute, but I'm gonna. The fourth poll question was this, so I'm gonna share it with you. Now, again, some of you will have seen this, but some of you haven't. So let me just get it on the screen. Okay. It's not even wanting to play now. Oh gosh. Oh, there we go. It's playing now. There we go. So how many spots does it take to tow a 10-ton truck? Is it 2? Is it 4? Is it 6? Is it 8? Is it 10? Well, the answer is 10. And there you have it. Now that was taken from a session we did midway through last year with some of the Trimble guys on that are based in the States and in Europe, Middle East, and it was actually called A Date with a Robot. And the session, it was a great session, and they talked about some of the things that they're actually doing now in application, and it was fascinating. It is available.
It was amazing, wasn't it? Absolutely.
Date with a Robot. Aviad's been instrumental in several things that we delivered webinar wise. So anyway, I'll say thanks very much. We'll leave it on that note now. We'll wrap it up. Jerry, anything to add? Thank you very much.
No, just to say well done, everybody. It was another good webinar. Well done. And enjoy your bank holiday weekend, everyone.
Anybody else? Anybody want to final words?
Well, thank you. Yeah, have a good weekend.
Yes, thanks.
Thanks for the time to talk. It's been good, and like you say, we look forward to getting involved in more talks and what COMIT are doing in the projects. It's been good.
Sure. Next session on the 21st of May. Around AWP, it's the owner's perceptions, or owner's expectations and contractor perceptions. We've had a lot of people turn up for the last few AWPs that we've done, and the next one will hopefully be as good. So that's it. Thanks very much, and we'll see you all on the 21st. Thank you, guys. Have a great weekend.
Bye, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Thanks to all the
Bye.
participants
Bye.
and the questions, and great to have you. Cheers now.
Cheers.
Cheers, thanks, bye.
Bye bye.